with the showdown in the NFC East between the Cowboys and Eagles to see which trash team can be the number one seed. How will it turn out, and can the Cowboys bounce back? Join us. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mr. R Show Sports. Sorry about missing last week, guys. Just with schoolwork, with me still being in college, and just life in general, it got super busy. We just had to hold off on that front. But we're back for week 8. We're also going to talk about, as we do our predictions, how week 7 turned out for us. And, it's going to be an interesting week to say the least. This is the first week that we're going to see my team, the Dolphins, take on Ashton's team, the Rams. So it's going to be interesting when we get to that point and when we can talk about that game. But Ashton, before we kick this thing off, any first impressions of week 7 or what you think will happen in week 8?
Yeah, Andy, just a comment. In general, I think week 7 was a really solid week. Not a lot of upsets. I mean, we'll get to the Jets when we get to their game, but that was a really weird game to kind of see. Um, you know, you I guess you have a shootout between the Lions and the Falcons. Not shootout, but kind of like close game there. Just you know, in general, Andy, I think it's cemented now that people know the worst division in football is the NFC East, and I think it's starting to become clear the NFC West is the best division, and I don't think that's just like me saying because my team's in the NFC West. It's just like you put the Cardinals in the NFC East, they would win that division easily. I
Not
don't
just the
think.
Cardinals, any team in the NFC East, even the 49ers this year, even with their injuries, could win in the NFC East. So honestly, if there was a possibility of all four teams making the playoffs, it would come from there. I just don't think it will happen because obviously NFC East team has to make it due to the way the NFL playoff structure is set up. But I agree with you, Ashton. The NFC East is just beyond garbage, and it's sad how bad it's become.
Yeah,
But
I really can't believe the Cowboys got blown out by Washington. And I'll just say this, like I remember at the beginning of the season, you thought I was crazy for having all four NFC West teams go to the playoffs. There's only one team from the East going, and then the North doesn't particularly look great besides Green Bay. So it's like, to me, I'm looking at these NFC teams, and, as long as the Cardinals and the 49ers and, the Rams by a certain extent, if they can win some key NFC seeding games, like, it's possible all four of those teams could go.
all right, Ashton, let's go ahead and kick off our Week 8 predictions with the Thursday night game, which is kind of boring to say the least, but the struggling 1-6 Falcons, after their loss last weekend, travels to Carolina to face a kind of hot and cold Carolina Panthers team. Who do you got?
Um, in general, my comments on Carolina is they are better than we expected going into the season. They're perfectly average. That's what I'll say about them. They are perfectly average on both sides. Their offense is decent enough to score 17, 20 points every game. Their defense is decent enough to keep them in the game every game. But in general, when they face a team that's a little bit more lopsided on one half, they can lose. And that's what happened against the Bears. I definitely have the Panthers winning this one. The blower of the leads, Falcons. Falcons kind of killed it for me. I was expecting that high flying offense to do wonders for them this year, but even their offense hasn't been great. Like, they've had maybe one or two really good games.
This will be a top 5 showdown of top 5 passing leaders in the NFL. Matt Ryan is number one in passing yards in the NFL, and fifth place is actually Teddy Bridgewater. And that's kind of shocking to say that Teddy Bridgewater is fifth in the NFL in passing yards. So it's going to be a high flying, throw the ball around, go up and catch it. Robbie Anderson of the Panthers, Julio Jones of the Falcons. It's going to be fun to see. Both teams have a solid running game. Mike Davis has been a very pleasant surprise coming in after the McCaffrey injury. McCaffrey's slowly getting better. He's now doing some practice reps, so he'll be back in the coming weeks. So I agree with you. I think the Panthers win this game. It's going to be a high scoring game, but I have the Panthers just outdueling the Falcons because Falcons can't hold a lead. It's just they can't. And I think the Panthers keep going and go to 4-4 on the year and are going to be competitive in that NFC South, where the Saints aren't as good as they were supposed to be this year. But moving on to the first major game of Sunday football, and that is the struggling Patriots team at 2-4, traveling to play a Bills team which did not look good against the Jets.
Yeah, Andy. That was such a surprising game for me. I don't know why. Maybe it was an off day for the personnel of the Bills. I do have a lot of faith in this Bills team. I like them a lot. I respect them a lot for, to be honest, a game they shouldn't have won against the Rams, but they did, and they um they have really good personnel. So it was a surprising game. I expect the Bills to come out on top. The Patriots are just it's not there offensively. Defensively, sometimes it looks like they can stay in the game, but other times they completely break. It's like in years past where they would bend but don't break. They just completely break now.
Yeah, Ash, and the Patriots this year have just been such a, hobbled mess. They have no receivers really that can catch the ball. Just, I mean, Edelman's fine, but he's older now. Cam Newton has never been the most accurate throwing quarterback. That wasn't ever his thing. He barely ever completed 60% of his passes or more in a season. So that on top of a really bad receiving core, a hit or miss running game, a defensive uh, roster that has 9 players missing because of opt outs from COVID. They're just such a depleted team. You see that at 2-4. It's crazy to think that. The Bills aren't perfect either. They're one of the only teams to win a game without scoring a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown against the Jets and still beat them. So they have the talent. They need to step it up. Defensively, they've been kind of disappointing this year. Allowing 10 points against the Jets is fine, but it's the Jets, so any point is trash against them. I like the Bills to win. I think they're in a better position. They're almost fully healthy. They'll get their sixth win, and they should, depending on how things go, win the AFC East now. But I wouldn't sleep on the Dolphins either. Moving right along, after a tough loss but a very good game, the Titans travel to the Bengals. Ashton, who do you have?
I think this will be a relatively close game, but I have the Titans. I was high on them coming into the year. This Titans team is just a very physical team. This is definitely a game I could see them losing because the Bengals, I think, match up decently well. Burrow has been relatively good. He made a few bad throws, I would say, last week. Had a bad interception. So, but he's a rookie. He's in the NFL. He's still going through growing pains, and there's some rumors that the Bengals might try to trade for a few people before trade deadline. So we'll kind of see how that works out. But I have Titans winning.
Yeah, no differing opinion from me, from you there, Ash, and I got the Titans to win as well. As much as I like this Cincinnati offense, Joe Burrow is actually third in the NFL in passing yards. He's lighting it up, but the problem is a lot of interceptions. But it is what it is when you don't have an offensive line. You take the good with the bad. But the biggest thing to see is not the offense of Cincinnati. You look at the Tennessee offense when they play against the Cincinnati defense. There's not a single person on that Cincinnati defensive side of the ball that I think can stop Derrick Henry. I mean, he should have just a game. On top of that, you have one of the most accurate quarterbacks of the season, of all time, really, in this past 2 seasons, and that's Ryan Tannehill, who's been on fire. I really see Tennessee winning, maybe a 10-point victory, but still, it's going to be a tough day trying to stop Derrick Henry, especially after losing a game where they felt they could have won. So they're going to be playing sharp, and they should get the win there. Next up, a really interesting battle of two teams that have really don't know what they are this year, and that is the 3-3 Raiders on the road against the Cleveland Browns. Now, before you get your pick, Ashton, I will say Odell Beckham Jr. is out for the season now. Does that affect your pick? Who do you have?
Oh, Andy, I feel like whoever I'm gonna pick in this game will end up losing. It's such a both these teams are very they're headaches to predict because I'll say I think the Browns have better personnel, but I think the Raiders have better coaching. So that's where it's like hard for me to try to pick between the two. You put a gun up to my head. I've gone back and forth on this all week. I'll say Raiders just because losing Odell might mess up the chemistry of the Browns a little bit. Um, I I don't know, Andy.
I'm actually going to agree with you, Ashton. I think the Raiders come out and play hard. I mean, the Raiders beat the Chiefs, so they're nothing to be laughed at. They're a hit or miss team that's hot and then they're cold. So if they can get some consistency, they're going to be a really good team and a fringe playoff team like they are right now. I think losing Odell Beckham Jr. will hurt the Browns. I don't think it will hurt as much as some people think, but I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I do not trust him. He is known to throw multiple interceptions in multiple games throughout a season, if not up to 10 games a season. He throws multiple interceptions. He's not the best decision maker. And if he gets rattled, that's it for him. I really do like the Raiders. I think they can pull out a close one in Cleveland and just make sure Cleveland is out of that AFC North picture, especially with how deep it is this year, with the Ravens and the Steelers being a top-notch team. But I had the Raiders win this in a close, hard-fought win. Coming up next, another interesting matchup as the 4-2 Colts have to travel to Detroit to play the perfect 500 3-3 Lions. We know how the Lions have been this year. They're stringing together some nice. I think they won the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Their last two games they've won. So don't call it a win streak, Ashton. But who do you got winning?
Hmm. The Colts. The Colts are a more complete team. Phil, I don't like Philip Rivers at all as a head QB. I think now he just makes too many reckless decisions. The Colts defense is really good, but their offense, it's like they're a slightly better version of the Bears, in my opinion, with a at least above average somewhat offense, and their defense is as elite as the Bears. So I really like the Colts, and I'll take them over uh, Matt Patricia's Lions. The Lions can't beat better teams. They can beat worse teams, but they can't beat better teams.
Okay, this is probably the game I'm gonna get wrong of the week, but I gotta go with the Lions here, Ashton. I know, but I really think the Colts are in a prime position to be upset this week by the Lions. I know the Colts have a top 5 defense. I understand that, and that's the one thing that might hold me back. But some in my gut is telling me that the Lions offense versus the Colts defense is going to be a fun matchup to watch. How good Stafford can be against a really tough defense. How will Galladay play? And that's gonna matter. DeAndre Swift needs to have a game like he's had so far. He's been really good this year. If he has a breakout game again, the Lions could win this game because, like you said, I don't trust Philip Rivers to get the job done. I know he has 9 children, but that does not mean he's going to be this amazing quarterback. And he's struggled this year and has been in almost lost games where he shouldn't have. So this is one of those games I think the Lions could pick off the Colts. But honestly, if the Lions do lose, I wouldn't be shocked. But some of my guts telling me the Lions, and I got them winning this week in a 3-point game victory. Moving right along to a game which honestly shouldn't be that hard to pick as the struggling Vikings travel to Lambeau Field to pay the Packers. Ashton, I feel like I know who you're going to pick, but let's just go ahead and say it.
Packers.
Yeah, don't got to spend much time on this, guys. Packers are going to win. I know they had a really bad loss against the Buccaneers, but the Vikings are nothing like them. The Vikings have no defense. Their offense is hit or miss. And as long as the Packers get a lead, they should dominate. Plain and simple, Aaron Rodgers usually doesn't struggle twice. Another game, moving on, that's should be a blowout. The only non-win team this year, the Jets, travel to Kansas City to play the reigning Super Bowl defending champions and the Chiefs. Do you Chiefs are going to win this game?
Jets. I'm kidding. Chiefs. I wouldn't. No, that's a no. I would never bet on the Jets on this game. No.
I could be wrong, but I thought I saw something the other day on like CBS Sports or something that this is like the most biggest margin of like spread in the NFL in a recent, long time because the Chiefs are favored 19.5 points. And for an NFL team, that's insane. College,
Ooh.
that's another story because of how different the talent can be. But for NFL, a 19.5 point spread is just ridiculous. So the Chiefs better win this game if or they're going to be the laughing stock of all of next week. Moving right along to the last, well, not the last 1 o'clock game, but the next to last 1 o'clock game we're going to talk about, and the one that me and you are most excited for, Ashton. Your Rams travel to Miami to play my Dolphins. I will let you start. Who do you have winning this key match between us two?
I'll say, we didn't get to record our video last week, and you knew this from me. After the week 6 game with the Rams, I was very disheartened with how the Rams played, the personnel wise. Um, in general, that game was a very it just showed a lot of weakness for the Rams and the players didn't show any drive. So after that I was like, oh, I could see them losing to the Bears and Dolphins after that. And then we go into the Bears game and even the Rams shocked me with how well both sides of the ball played. Um so it really it's hard because I think the Dolphins are going to play a lot better than people expect. I expect this to be a close game, 3 point game, and I'll say 23-20 Dolphins.
I got to go with the Rams here, Ashton. It's funny how we're going against our own teams, but when you lost to the 49ers, me and you were watching that game and kind of talking back and forth, and you were basically depressed saying, "Oh, this team is over." I told you don't lose stock in this team. They played a hard-fought game, and the 49ers aren't as bad as people give them credit for. They've just been injured. And Jimmy G finally got healthy against the Rams. So, they played good. I didn't see anything about that game that said, "Okay, this is not I should sell my stock in the Rams." Cooper Kupp dropped some balls in the end zone that would have won you the game. A couple miscues here and there, but overall, you played good against the 49ers. At the beginning of the season, I thought you guys would split one against San Fran, and you did, or hopefully will when you beat them. Hopefully, we'll beat them later in the season. I know this is a very tough game. It's a trap game going from West Coast to East Coast in a shortened span because you guys played Monday night last night, and you have to go against Sunday, so you have shortened week. So if there was a game you would lose, it would be Miami. But honestly, I have the Rams. They're too talent wise. They're the better top to bottom. I think McVay's a better coach than Flores. I love Flores. Don't get me wrong. McVay's a better coach. If you guys are leading at halftime, don't even think about it. He's never lost. So, but I just don't think the Dolphins' defense is good enough to stop the just hybrid. The movement you guys have on the offense, the motion when you send receivers that creates all this open stuff. The running game, I wouldn't say your running backs are better, but your offensive line is, which allows your running backs more space. I have the Rams winning. I think it's going to be like a 10-point game for the Rams. I really do think. But again, wouldn't it be surprised if Miami somehow finds a way to upset the Rams here? But I'm excited to watch this, Ashton, and
Mm-hmm.
may the best team win.
Yeah, we were planning on going, so I wish we could have gone, circumstances dictated otherwise. But ultimately, I think you'll agree with me. I think the Dolphins have a bright future. Um, I like the coaching staff. I think Tua will be good at points in this game, but also struggle because it's his first career start. I mean, it's rare a QB comes into the NFL and gets 5 touchdowns their first game and just like destroys a team. So, and the Rams come into this game with a top 10 defense. So, yeah, of course, they played not the best teams in the world, the NFC East mostly. Uh, but still, they have been able to contain offenses like the Bills in the second half. So, like you said, Rams are now 29-0 at second half, and that's the question. Can the Dolphins stay in there and keep it tied or be up at half? Because if the Rams have a lead, McVay knows how to keep a lead. He's not the Falcons coach.
I feel bad for Tua. I love the man. I think he's going to be an amazing Miami Dolphin player. But when you have your first game against a man like Aaron Donald, maybe the greatest defensive player of all time, depending on, we'll see how his career progresses. Definitely the best defensive player currently, but he's gonna be sacked. I don't think our offensive line can hold him, but it's gonna be a fun game to watch. But let's move on to probably honestly the game of the week, I would say, and that is the Steelers, undefeated, the only undefeated team. The Steelers traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Winner takes the number one spot in the AFC North. Ashton, who do you have in this marquee matchup?
I think I know who you're gonna go with. I have to go with the Steelers. The Steelers have been very impressive this year. In the sense like they kept that top tier defense from last year, and their offense, like Big Ben looks good. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but Big Ben can sling a ball. He's not a bad QB. And, Chase Claypool, like, I know that name now for a reason. Like, he has been on fire. And this Ravens defense has had its problems this season. And the Ravens offense, like, it's really good, but it at times can be one dimensional, and I don't know how well they can play when they don't have the lead. And that's the question. And so, there's a lot of questions in this game, but I definitely think the Steelers will end out on top. It's going to be a good game. It'll be a good game.
I'm going with the Steelers, Ashton. I think you're gonna think I was gonna pick the Ravens. No, no. It's not that I don't like the Ravens. I really do. The only loss they had was against the Chiefs, which is a respectable loss, with the Chiefs offense being like it is. But that Steelers defense is unheard of. It's like the 49ers defense of last year. They're that good. The linebacker core of Dupree and Watt, and you have Mika Fitzpatrick in the secondary. It's a tough defense. I think that they're at least top three. They might be the number one defense. I would have to double check on that. But that's tough. And they know how to stop the run. They just played a team like Tennessee, which is a run first team. Baltimore's a different beast because you have four guys that run the ball. The three-headed running back core of Gus and J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, and obviously Lamar Jackson can do pass and run. But Lamar Jackson, pass wise, has taken a mini step back from last year. He's not as good as he was last year. He's still super, super good, don't get me wrong, but comparatively to last year, he's not as elite. I think the Steelers match up well against this Baltimore team. I think it's going to be a low scoring game due to the defense, but I like the Steelers team better. Like you said, Claypool has been balling this year. Last week, terrible game. Caught one pass for negative yards. That was awful. But they threw only one pass his way. They throw more. He's a beast. He's tall. He's lengthy. He can catch. You know how good Juju Smith-Schuster is. James Conner is a beast. I like the Steelers here in a drag me out, knockout kind of game, but Steelers win this game. Moving right along, Ashton, to the 4 o'clock game slates, and we're going to start with the Chargers at the Broncos. Two very weird teams this year.
Yeah, they're not maybe they're streaky, I guess. Parts of their team can be streaky, maybe. Chargers. I mean, this game is gonna be one of those games no one watches because both teams are just eh.
Yeah, I had the Chargers too, Ashton. I really like Justin Herbert. He's been amazing as that quarterback slot, one of the best rookies quarterbacks there is. Uh, so we're gonna see how like we said Tua will do. But if any of these top 10 quarterbacks are showing, they're good and they're here. So I like Herbert to outduel Drew Lock. I mean, I like Lock a lot, but the Broncos defense is not as good as it can be. You said it all season. Von Miller being gone really hurts them. I like Herbert win and the Chargers in this game. Moving on to a heartbreak team, the Bears at home, trying to rebound against a very underperforming Saints team.
Yeah, this is a hard one, kind of like that Raiders game. I I gotta go with the Bears. I think they'll rebound a little bit. I don't like their offense at all, but their defense is definitely good. And I feel like the Saints are just missing that it factor that they typically have on the offensive side. this point in the season, and they're struggling a lot. And against a really good defensive team, like it's gonna be an ugly win. I mean, I think the Bears will win this like something like 14-13. It'll be like a very nasty win, but that's how the Bears win this year.
The biggest question mark in deciding how this game goes, Ashton, is look at Allen Robinson, the receiver for the Bears. If he is healthy, he is questionable right now on the injury list. If he plays, I think the Bears win. I agree with you. If he doesn't, Saints get the win. The problem with the Saints this year is Michael Thomas has been very confusing. A lot of us fans are concerned that he's turning into what Antonio Brown was when he was on the Steelers because he's been hurt. Now he's reportedly fighting with his own teammates. It's very weird. It's very concerning because Michael Thomas is one of, if not the best receiver in the NFL. That hurts the Saints a lot. When Alvin Kamara is your leading rusher and leading receiver, that's a problem. Alvin Kamara is the best running back currently this season performing in the NFL right now. He's just amazing on both sides of the ball. But if a running back's your leading receiver, usually you don't win a lot of games. Look at the Panthers last year. I'm pretty sure McCaffrey was the leading receiver, if not like number two, and look how they did. Not the best. I think the Bears pull this one off if Robinson is healthy, but if he doesn't play, the Saints will win. But if I had to pick now, it's going to be the Bears. Moving right along, Ashton, a very big matchup for the NFC West. I know you're going to be tuning into this game closely after our game goes off the air. And that's the 49ers at the Seahawks. The Seahawks lost a very heartbreaking game against the Cardinals on a Sunday Night Football. What an amazing game to watch. And the 49ers are coming into this game. I think they had a bye this week, Ashton. I could be wrong. But last, I know they beat your Rams. How do you see this game shaking up?
Yeah, that game against the Cardinals, that like if you look at the win probability, it's like a person on like you're in the hospital and you're like your heartbeat is like going up and down because you're having a heart attack. It was like crazy to watch. Um, I have the 49ers winning. I feel like the 49ers match up well against this cooking Russ, as they say. Russ wasn't cooking last week, but um, like I've said all season, I felt like the Seahawks are very one-dimensional. Like their offense is really good, like really good. But their problem is their defense can't stop anything. And I don't think the Cardinals are the best offensively. That's why they lost to the Lions. So if and I really think the 49ers have the personnel to cover like DK Metcalf, and then they have a really good linebacking core, which will help kind of contain Russell Wilson. Because I'm trying to think, what's the star linebacker for 49ers? I can't think of his name. Fred Warner? Yeah, Warner. He's really, really good, and I think he can help contain Wilson. And they played well last year against the Seahawks.
I had the Seahawks all the way, Ashton. It's very rare to see the Seahawks lose two straight games, especially when they have such a good roster and Pete Carroll is the head coach. And it wasn't like they got blown out last week. It could have gone either way at any moment. It was that kind of game, and they just barely lost it to a Cardinals offense, Ashton, that I think is very good. They had a bad game here and there, but they're really good when they're clicking. And they're finally starting to click as you can see them against the Seahawks. Like you said, the Seahawks defense isn't all that great this year, but their offense, man, is it something. DK Metcalf is a beast, even when he's not catching much. You look at Tyler Lockett last week, 200 yards catching. My gosh. Now, Chris Carson is questionable for the game. That could hurt them, but still, I think he'll be able to play. But the biggest news to me that changes this game is the 49ers. Deebo Samuel's out for the game. He's out. He's not playing. He's out. That will definitely hurt this offense, which is very limited. It's not the most high-powered, spread you around offense, and Jimmy Garoppolo can be hit or miss this season because of his injury that he's had. I have the Seahawks winning. It's probably going to be a 10-2 touchdown game for the Seahawks. I just don't think the 49ers offense can keep pace. And the Seahawks offense, you look at the Super Bowl last year, the Chiefs won really because the 49ers could not contain the Chiefs offense for 4 quarters. So I have the Seahawks winning a good game. Even if it comes down to late, I have the Seahawks winning the game. Ashton, I know we have to talk about this. We don't want to, but NFC East supremacy, Cowboys and Eagles, both teams just need a win here to be number one and possibly be the playoff team representing the East. Who do you have?
Derp, 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 derp. I got the Eagles. I guess. I mean, let's be honest. Can the whole league vote and just have this entire division skip a year? They don't deserve to send any team to the playoffs. They don't. There are going to be other teams that don't go to the playoffs because a team from this division has to go.
Yeah, I got the Eagles too. I think some is really messed up in Dallas, Ashton. I think both me and you at the beginning of the season thought they were going to be a good team. Not elite, but a good team. Dak Prescott's hurt. I understand that. But if you go back and you look at that Washington game, no touchdowns, just a single field goal, and you lose by over two touchdowns to the Washington football team. Offensive line's not wanting to protect Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was chewing out the offensive line because of it. Ezekiel Elliott's fumbling the ball like three times a game. Why is he regressing? Why is he getting worse? It's like this Cowboys team doesn't want to play. They have no drive, and you can blame some of this on Mike McCarthy. I don't think Mike McCarthy can survive. Like if I was Jerry Jones right now, I would be considering firing him if you don't win against the Eagles. If they lose against the Eagles, they should fire their head coach.
Yeah, Andy, remember when I said on one of our NFL videos that it was a bad idea for the Cowboys to re-sign Ezekiel Elliott to their big deal? I was like, yeah, I know how that goes as a Rams fan. You don't want to do it, no matter how good the running back is. It 90% of the time does not work out well. Mm.
100%, Ashton. I feel bad for Dak. I mean, when Dak was on the team, they at least were trying to play for him. But it feels like once Dak went down, this Cowboys team just has no fire. Like they just quit on the season, and it's tough to see if you're a Dallas fan. And you go back to Week 1 when they were playing the Rams. This is a completely different team. It's not the same team that played a hard-fought, close game and almost beat the Rams at a point. It's a team completely different, and it's sad for the Rams because this their win doesn't look as tough, but it is what it is. But Ashton, let's move on to the last game, the Monday night game. Buccaneers clicking with Tom Brady, now signing Antonio Brown to add another piece. Brown, Godwin, Evans, Gronkowski's playing good. Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, insane offensive talent, insane defense against the Giants. Do we have to spend much time on this one, Ashton?
No, the Bucks will win, but I do think the Bucks are overrated, Andy. I really do. Just because you have all that talent does not mean you have a coherent team. I mean, there's a lot of times where all-star teams go out and they lose because they don't have the same chemistry as teams that work together, and like you can have teams with a lot less talent beat more talented teams when they have better chemistry. So I that's just my Bucks rant. I don't think they're as great as national media is kind of billing them. We've seen that with the Browns. Even though I was a
Oh, hold up. Hold up. Don't you dare sit there and compare the Browns to the Buccaneers with hype. The Buccaneers have a top five defense right now. They're one of the best teams against the run defense, on top of an offense that has more weapons than almost any other team in the league other than the Chiefs. I understand the beginning of the season to compare them to the Browns of last year because of the talent they had. But do not sit there and
that's what
tell
I was
me
saying.
that the Buccaneers are as hyped up as the Browns because that's not the same.
I was saying offensively, they have the exact same hype as last year's Browns.
Yeah, but the difference is they're actually proving it. They're 5-2. Tom Brady threw for over 300 yards and no picks last week. They're proving that they're not hype.
Andy, who was that against? The Chargers, Denver, and Carolina.
Who have the Rams played? Are you going to tell me who's hyped up?
Oh, why you have to bring up the Rams? We're
Because
talking
you're
about
a Rams
Tampa.
fan.
No, why are you bringing up the Rams when we're talking about Tampa Bay?
I'm sure. Okay, who
I'm
else is
I'm just
hyped?
pointing out that the two teams that they have actually played that are good,
The
besides,
Packers? They destroyed the Packers.
let me finish. Let me finish. New Orleans, who's we've seen has struggled, and Chicago They lost two. That's two bad losses. And
What?
then yeah, those
Bad loss. Both those teams have four or more wins, Ashton. And the Bears game was only by a point in Chicago, and they were in New
I
Orleans.
I'm sorry. It's like if all the Tampa Bay fans have the point out is that Green Bay win where clearly Aaron Rodgers just wasn't playing well and it was just a down like teams have down days. And I don't think that's representative as the Green Bay team whole. So
Oh
it's just
my
my
god.
opinion. I think
Oh
they're
my god.
overrated.
You can. I'm just saying that the reason why I bring up the Rams in the conversation is if you want to compare the Buccaneers to being overrated, why don't you bring up the Rams in the same spotlight?
Because no one views the Rams like Tampa Bay right now.
I disagree. I think they think they're about the same level. I agree. They're about the same
No,
level in my eyes.
that's your eyes, but national media, no. Everyone looks at Tampa Bay, especially after Antonio Brown going over, as like Super Bowl bound almost. Not
If
bound, but
Antonio Brown is healthy,
contender.
they're a Super Bowl team. Yes, they're that good. Their
And
defense is performing.
Andy, when was the last year where Antonio Brown was healthy, playing, and not causing drama on a team?
What, two? Not last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, I
Oh,
think.
yeah, so not any time recently.
But guess who he has a good connection with? Tom Brady.
How
I'm not.
how did
Listen,
Antonio Brown on the Patriots work out again?
that wasn't Tom Brady's fault. That was the Patriots'
Oh,
fault. Listen, Ash. All I'm saying is if Antonio Brown is in the right state of mind, there is no reason not to believe that the Buccaneers cannot be a Super Bowl team.
well, if Brown is in the right state of mind, you,
Even if you take Brown away, there is a reasonable debate about the Buccaneers being a Super Bowl team in their current state. Just like I think the Rams could be a Super Bowl team, just like how I think the Chiefs should, the Packers could. All these teams you can argue for Ravens, Steelers, all could be Super Bowl bound teams.
I just think they're overhyped. They're one of the teams. I think they're gonna win their division just because of how bad the Saints are. Saints have kind of underwhelmed me, but I don't think Tampa Bay is as good as everyone thinks. I think Green Bay is a better team. They just had a worse. They had a terrible game that day. It
Well,
happens.
we'll see, Ashton. We'll see when the Buccaneers they play the Rams later in the season. So we'll see what happens when they play, and if the Rams lose, maybe they're just having a bad day. But thank you
Why are
guys
you
for joining.
bringing up
Thank
the
you guys.
Rams?
Thank you guys for joining us for week 8 of our week 8
The
NFL
Sauls.
week 8 NFL Hush Ashton. Thank you for joining us for week 8 of the NFL, our game predictions. We'll see how it goes. We've been having fun making these. We've been doing decent this year. Not great, but we'll see how it goes. Enjoy your football week, guys. Stay safe out there. Wear your masks, and we'll see you guys next week.